Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
I am in the middle of somebody's hurricane here this morning, and it is it's hurricane in here. It's windy and rainy and nasty and ugly and loud. So if you hear those loud thunder, that's just outside. Or maybe my gut. I don't know. One of the two.
Well, it might actually be Kevin Sullivan moving some furniture around. Since you and I have recorded, we've lost a couple of members of our little wrestling community and family. Let's start with somebody who I know was important in your life. You were telling us a little bit before we clicked record. Mr. Dennis Brent, no longer with us. You got any good Dennis stories you can share with us?
Not really. Dennis was one of those guys that was instrumental in, I guess, the World Class magazine and things of that nature. But Dennis was all around a good friend of Jim Ross's, and also a avid Nolan Ryan collector, and helped Nolan Ryan write his book and things of that nature. And Dennis, good guy. His wife Lynn, wonderful person, and he sadly missed.
What about Kevin Sullivan? Did you spend any time with Kevin Sullivan back in the territory days, or would there ever even been an opportunity for you to spend much time with him at all?
No, Tom and Kevin were very good friends. And, so I knew Kevin kind of through him, but not really, and met Kevin with The Undertaker very early on in the beginnings of The Undertaker in 1990-ish. And Kevin was always just really, really nice and very insightful. And we always talked every time that we saw each other. Saw him at several fan conventions and things like that. Had an opportunity to spend a little time with him at some of those. But Kevin was the devil, man. He was Kevin, and a brilliant guy. I'll get into, it's funny. Somebody played something for me. Matter of fact, 2 nights ago, and it was Jim Cornette and Kevin on a video, and they were talking about what's wrong with the business today. And I just started to chuckle because it's like, I'm guilty of this, is that a lot of times us old timers, we view the business and we will start off with things like, well, here's what's wrong with the business, instead of, here's what's different about the business today. It's not what's wrong. It's just what's different. The business has changed. The business evolves. And the same people that say that were the same people that were getting that kind of comment in the 70s from the guys from the 50s. Yeah, you guys are screwing up the business. What's wrong? It's not about what's wrong with the business. It's just what's different with the business. What has the business evolved into? And I got a good chuckle out of that because it was an interesting comment, to say the least. But Kevin, man, I have the utmost respect for. We talked many times on the phone, and every time we were in person, it was very cordial. And you always got to learn a little something anytime that you have opportunity to speak to the devil.
I can't believe this was real, but well, we've heard in wrestling or just in life, sometimes death comes in threes. We also lost off of the Wild Samoan. My goodness.
Wow. Twice, because of the ineptness and absolute just sheer shoddy unprofessionalism of one Dave Meltzer. Can't even believe how stupid and how just really poorly he does whatever job he thinks he does. But, of course, Dave Meltzer put out that Afa had passed one day before he actually had. And I know we take shots at him all the time, but this is inexcusable. This is a simple phone call to confirm or deny, but yet he hears on a Facebook post that they didn't even say he was dead. Dave just came to that conclusion because he's Dave, because he's lazy, he's sloppy. And some people say, you get better with age, and maybe Dave has, which tells you how sloppy and how shitty his reporting has been his entire career. Dave, you should be ashamed, and you should do more than an apology. You should do all of your fans do the right thing and just leave. Go away and go to sleep somewhere and eat some pablum, because you're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to yourself, and you're an embarrassment to your family, and you're a disgusting human being. And it's things like that, man, it's just like, come on, dude. Really? Really? And the people that actually believe, that, and then you believe anything else, he uses the exact same type of reporting with everything else that he does with something as important as life and death. It is the easiest of all to confirm or deny. But yet this guy prints it, and I cannot stand him. And I'm sorry I had to say that. I'm sorry that I had to say that at the expense of talking about Afa, who is someone that I did know and someone that I learned an awful lot about. And I had some of the most wonderful times with Afa the Samoan, Afa and Hawaii. And Afa was with that. Just, there's a presence when Afa came into the room. Afa and Sika both, but I think that Afa even more so. And I had a lot more dealings with Afa one-on-one, but Afa, brought us Dave Batista. Afa had a school, and Afa was just one of those guys that was a stand-up, straightforward. You knew exactly where you stood with him, and he took absolutely zero caca from anybody. And it was an honor. It was a privilege to get to know this man and get to know his family, and the way that he treated me as, come on in, be a part. And that just goes, huge void, losing Afa. We lost Sika, huge void a few months ago, and now Afa. And, I really think sometimes that there are kindred spirits that when Afa lost his brother, that it was only a matter of time, really, that the two of them would join again. And it's funny how that happens. But two of the greatest of all time, and Afa, this week we lost one of the greatest of all times. And I'm very, very sad about this one. Very, very sad. And, it's one of those that you get sad, you get mad at stupid things that are reported, and it hurts. It hurts people. And that's why I get mad at it.
Well, I think we're all mad at the fact that we even have to talk about Afa passing. Three big names in our little wrestling community no longer with us. All we can hope for now is the peace and contentment for their family. And let's try to remember the happy times. Think about the good old days with some of those folks. Afa's legacy just continues to grow with the success of the bloodline, and that family just continues to flourish and grow. When it's all said,
people don't, you think about the people that Afa has touched in training and things of that nature. Billy Kidman and Batista are the very first two that come to mind that are, some of the greats of the business. And Batista had gone down to WCW, and they, told him, "You'll never make it in this business, kid. You're the shits." And Afa called me and said, "Would you take a look at it? Just all I ask is, would you take a look at him if I brought him down?" I said, "Afa, you bring him down, we will definitely take a look at him." And instead of, putting him through the paces and trying to make him puke and see how many Hindu squats he could do and different things like that, we put him in the ring with my brother Tom, and just to see if he had an aptitude to learn. Did he have an aptitude? Did he have a willingness? Did he have the attitude and the physical attributes to be successful in this business? And a lot of times you can tell that by just locking up with somebody, watching how they walk around the ring. And Dave Batista was somebody who was very comfortable in doing that. And those simple fundamentals were taught to him by Afa. And I think Dave Batista did all right for himself. So it's a different philosophy. The WCW power plant was one where they like to get guys and, and kind of bully them and do all these different things. I never got that. I never understood. Let's do this. And I just want to watch you puke. Do you have an aptitude to learn or don't? Do you have an aptitude for the business as far as psychology? Are you comfortable in the ring? And, will you come back? So all of those things in one are what make the true difference as far as if they're going to make it or not in this business.
You mentioned some of the other great names that went through his school. You mentioned specifically Billy Kidman and Batista. Well, how about Paul Orndorff and Junkyard Dog and Luna Vachon and Michael Hayes and Yokozuna and Bam Bam Bigelow and Rikishi and Sherry Martel and Virgil and Gene Snitsky and Chris Kanyon, and so many people would look to Alpha and call him a mentor, and just gone way too soon, man. Some of these guys you just think are going to live forever. And sadly, that's not the case for Alpha.
Well, we hope so. Anyway. I mean, we hope they'll live forever and just Father Time does no jobs.
Well, let's hop in our time machine. Let's watch something a little fun today. It's the night after SummerSlam 2001. Milk-A-Mania is going to bust wide open here. We want you to watch along with us. We're going to be watching an episode of Monday Night Raw from August 20th, 2001. Of course, you can watch this over on Peacock. That's August 20th, 2001. Bruce, I'm locked and loaded on my side. You ready to roll on your side?
Well, let's hope so.
Well, let's do our best.
I ain't making no guarantees.
I get it. We're going to do a little countdown. And when I say...
So I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. When I say go, you mash the button. I'm at 0, 0, 0.
Okay. You muted on your side?
No. Do I have to mute?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're ready when you are.
Wait a minute. Okay. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
All right. And here we go.
Okay.
In.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go.
I don't know why, but you saying go instead of play makes me happy.
Why?
I don't know. It just does.
Well, usually I'd say roll.
Oh, yeah. Roll tape.
Yeah. This beautiful thing is there's Deborah and Steve just walking down the aisle and just coming in there at old Stone Cold Steve Austin's office. Greeted by God. Look at these folks.
The Alliance.
Look at all these folks.
This is Steve Austin Appreciation Day here on Monday Night Raw, isn't it?
It's a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day. You've got the greats, all the way from Chuck Palumbo standing front and center, Terry Test in the background. There's Taz. Taz is standing on top of a dresser, and so that we can see him. Chavo Guerrero, Sugar Shane Helms. So what's up with that? Is in there as well. Of course, Stephanie McMahon, front and center. And by God, it's the whole group of that damn WCW kind of alliance thing that was just so absolutely god-awful horrible.
What do you think of Stone Cold as the leader of the alliance? Did you like this version of the character?
I did. From this vantage point, we got to do different stuff, and we got to do different things. And you got to feel, once Steve really understood, they're not going to let you turn heel, man. They're still going to love you and love everything you do. We started playing, and we got to play with this character from the standpoint of Steve did comedy. Steve was just completely off the cuff. And even when it was, he would do bad comedy and laugh at himself. And then that was funny shit because people didn't get it. So it was different. It was different than what he had been. So for that, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I kind of enjoyed it at the time as well because it was different, but I could certainly see that it felt like the company was losing some momentum as 2001 went on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because we had a completely different plan coming out of WrestleMania. We had a plan of Steve and Triple H, running roughshod over everybody and being the main focus, and it just kind of blew up as soon as Hunter tore his quad and he's out.
Right.
And the invasion, you have a vision, you have a hope anyway. I don't know if there was so much a vision as there was a hope that this WCW thing with the talent that came in from WCW after the buyout, that they were going to be accepted and that the audience would believe them as a threat and and that the audience wanted to see them. And instead, we got the guys that the audience didn't want to see, which was evident while they were at WCW. They certainly weren't making any changes or big waves in WCW at the time. So what would make you think they were going to make waves coming up here? And they didn't. And it just wasn't good. Wasn't good.
We're just a month removed from the big Invasion pay-per-view. That was the biggest pay-per-view buy rate of the year besides WrestleMania. At first, it looks like it's 750,000 buys. It's going to wind up being even more successful than that. So it becomes the fourth most purchased pro wrestling pay-per-view in history, trailing only the past three WrestleManias. It's a big opportunity. I mean, when you see the numbers come in for Invasion, even though maybe creatively, you weren't satisfied as someone inside the tent, when you see those numbers come in for Invasion, do you think, hey, listen, maybe there's still hope for this thing? Or did you know creatively it was a no-win situation?
Look, yeah, as I said, no different than with the talent coming in. There was hope.
Yeah.
There was definitely hope. But I also feel that in dealing with a lot of it, it was not the same level of experience, not the same level of ability. And while you're trying to put a lot of these talent in situations that they've never been in before. So it just wasn't an even playing field. It really wasn't. And bless her heart, Stacy Keebler and Tori Wilson both, they never worked before.
No.
They didn't get into the business to work. But they had the right attitude and came in going, yeah, I'll learn. I'll do what I can. I'll do whatever I have to do to train and to get in the ring and try to get this done. Taking a look at Nora right now in the ring as Molly Holly. A few years before that, she had never been in the ring either. So anything can happen. And if you have the right attitude, then this will work. And it's just, we had a lot of that. We had a lot of rawness, the can't even remember the guy's name. That was part of the group in WCW. I don't know, but he was with Sean O'Hare and those guys, and everybody thought that he was just the greatest thing in the world.
Above average Mike Sanders?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
And he was well below average.
Oh, goodness.
God, he just was not good.
Wow.
He was not good. If he couldn't do his sing-songy stuff that he had memorized, he was dead in the water, and his work wasn't good. So you had a lot of those guys that when they're the best of what they had at the time, they had a lot of young guys working with each other. So the better ones look like, okay, well, this guy's good. But you realize that, well, they're just better in this situation because of who they're working with. You put them in the ring with a Steve Austin or a Rock or somebody else like that, and you suddenly realize very quickly that, okay, well, we got Booker T. Thank you. And again, that's the way I always looked at it, man. I was like, well, we got Booker. You know what? I'm happy with that. Because Booker was really, the shining star out of that. And then subsequent to that, of course, Tori and Stacy Keibler both, excelled and, came out, and they were great additions into what they did. Great attitudes.
It's talked about in the newsletters that there's at least been preliminary discussions with Goldberg, and there's speculation that he's going to be looking for like $2.5 million a year for 2 years to come in. And it's written that, well, Vince is not likely to make that sort of deal. Do you remember the holdup with Goldberg in this era being the dollar figure?
Yeah, it was as simple as he had a contract. He wanted his money from his contract. We were not willing to pay that kind of money. So he sits at home, he gets his money. He doesn't care. Goldberg, a lot of those guys from Goldberg to Hall and Nash and Hogan and all them, they had great contracts. They were going to get paid. If they sat home and did nothing, they didn't care. So a lot of those were, okay, maybe when your contract is up, then give us a call. But we're not going to, but if you're expecting that kind of money, maybe not.
If you were them and you were in their shoes, what would you have done?
It depends. I think that where I was in my career, because again, you look at Booker T. Booker T said, no, man, I want the opportunity. I know I can do it. And I believe I can make more money on the other side if they just give me the opportunity now. And that paid off for him because he had talent. I look at Diamond Dallas Page, who said, no, I want to work. And, Dallas forego it. So I have a lot more respect from that vantage point. But I cannot blame any of those guys for saying, making $2.5 million the next year and a half or however much longer I have on my contract, and I can go do whatever else I want to do. That's a tough decision. I can't begrudge anybody for taking that. It's not a bad deal. And then wait it out. If you still have that much confidence in you, come back and do it all over again. But take that money because you're not going to get it here.
In a backstage skit here now after the ladies' match is finished, and when we come back from commercial, the Dudley boys were having a conversation with Test when Stephanie makes the approach, and now it's down to just Test and Stephanie. What'd you think about them as an on-air dynamic, Test and Stephanie?
Did you ever take chemistry, Conrad?
I did.
Okay. You remember when you put two things in the little beakers that didn't go together?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Test and Stephanie were. It just wasn't. There was no chemistry there. There was no fire there. There was not really anything that. It was forced. It was forced, and I will tell you that at the time that I was one of those people that thought, no, man, let's force it. Let's try it. There's a lot of awkward couples out there that people may buy this eventually, but bless his heart, man. Andrew Martin, Test, one of the sweetest guys you'd ever want to meet, man. Really good guy. And I think that if he had maybe 2 years underneath his belt before he came in with us, I think that he could have been a major player. The fact that he came in with so time and talent time. I think he had the talent. I just think that he came in at a time and was put into position in a place that he did not belong because he didn't have the experience.
Too much too soon, maybe?
Yes.
Well, it worked out for The Rock. We're seeing him come to the ring right now. The gist of that backstage skit we just saw was Stephanie saying, hey, we've had problems in the past, but we can work through them because we're older now. That's called Stephanie a bitch, but said, hey, that's what I like about you, though. So she requests and he accepts an opportunity to wrestle Chris Jericho later in the show. So now The Rock's here. to cut a promo and talk about beating Booker T at the pay-per-view last night. And Rock's going to call him down to the ring, and Booker's music's going to play. And here comes a little person who's going to be Little Booker. What did you think of some of these crazy skits with The Rock where he's bringing out little people for spinneroonies and whatnot? I mean, this is hilarious TV. What did you think of this?
I thought it was highly entertaining. You know, it was poking fun. It was parody, and it was something that I think that one thing that we did very well, and it was a lot of fun. And obviously, the audience was behind it tremendously because you just look at the reaction. You know, and again, you're talking about Booker T, and Booker T was somebody who came in and was put in right on top, and took that opportunity to say, "Look at me. Yeah, I can hang. I can go." And that's why Booker T had the career that Booker T had, because he's just that damn good. And, you know, it shows when you're looking at, and it also shined because you're looking at a bunch of, how do you say it? Shiny new cars, but some don't have they don't all have the same engines.
That's right.
And Booker had that fucking Rolls Royce engine in him.
This is a fun promo. You know, we get to see him bring out Little Booker, asking him about how he felt losing the match the night before. And Little Booker says, "How do you think I feel, sucker?" This is fun stuff. Creatively, who would have been helping with skits like this?
This is one of those we all would have. I mean, you know, probably old Brian Gewirtz probably had a big hand in this and putting it together. But you know, it's a community affair. It takes a village, my God.
Well, it doesn't take a village when you use our friends over at Blue Chew. Our next sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times. And I bet there's a big part of you, pun intended, that wants to try it. Of course, we're talking about Blue Chew. It's not your grandpa's blue pill. This is the one. The OG chewable tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that's going to deliver you the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part? Well, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night. So plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. So discover your options at BlueChew.com. Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. That's what they told me. That's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, until every tent is pitched, until every rod is raised. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And how about this for a special deal for our listeners? Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code Russell at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is Russell, and you'll receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. My goodness.
You had to move your Blue Chew out of the way there just for a minute.
I did, just for a second. The big reveal of Little Booker is hilarious, dude. What did
he had the whole hop, had the whole entrance down, and just kind of a little hippity hop.
What did Booker think of this presentation?
What's that?
What did Booker think? Was he ever a good sport about this?
Oh, Booker helped him.
It's hilarious.
Again, you know, it just speaks to the character of Booker T, man. Booker T got it. Booker T's an entertainer. Booker T doesn't take himself too seriously. He does, but no, he takes himself very seriously by not taking himself too seriously, and had fun with this and saw, nah, man, you got to do it like this, and showed him how to do it. Showed him how to do a spin-a-rooney, a little rooney, just like a little baby one, not like a whole. Can't do the whole thing.
Where do you find a Little Booker T?
Oh, they got little Booker T's R Us all over the place. I'm lying. It's not little Booker T's R Us. Little Bookers R Us, but you got, you can get a T, you can get a little Booker R, you get a little Booker U, you get a little Booker F. You just got to tell them, I want a Booker T. Because they got little Bookers R Us. Some of them are devil. He's got a little cross on his head and he's sitting there and he goes, "Ooh, hey, I'm Booker Man," and shit like that. A lot of different Bookers R Us. But see, they got Booker T's too. And sometimes they got Bookers like Ken Mantell, sometimes they got Bookers like Gary Hart, sometimes they got Bookers like Dusty Rhodes and all shit. But this was like a little Booker T. You got to be specific because little Bookers R Us. That covers a vast, just universe there. Shouldn't be telling you that.
I stupidly was thinking you were going to describe some different Bookers. Hey, we should mention that you guys get some positive press after you return to the UPN for SmackDown. The result is the highest ratings that UPN has had in months. When you come back for SmackDown, buddy, it's huge. UPN wins the 8 to 10 p.m. time frame between male teens and men that are 18 to 34, 18 to 49, and even 25 to 54. When this is happening, as a reminder, the other shows are still, the other channels still have things like Survivor and Friends. So for you to do really well in that time slot with men, UPN had to be over the moon, right?
It was, because it was total counter programming to what the network formula had been for so long. And we went in and completely deviated from that. If you wanted your sitcoms and you wanted that stuff that the networks were giving you on a regular basis, it was there. Not what we're going to give you. So it was that alternative that people dug and were into that made it different.
I should also ask, this is around the same time where you're back on TNN and you're seeing just huge ratings from TNN. That's written here in the Hollywood Reporter. TNN has received an immediate ratings boost from Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, which it wrestled from USA Network in September. The male-skewed show helped boost TNN's second quarter primetime viewership 52%, the largest increase amongst cable networks for the quarter. TNN's primetime viewership among 18 to 49-year-olds increased 104%. This is pretty amazing. And that has to be great news for the WWE. I mean, this is the type of press you want for your network relationship, right?
Well, of course it is. But you look at the strength of TNN in general, where TNN was not one of the strongest cable networks at the time. So putting us on, of course, we're going to do those kind of numbers because we're coming from USA, where we did those numbers on a weekly basis. And it just got to the point to where they were expected and, while appreciated, kind of underappreciated in many ways. So, yeah, you go somewhere else and it's going to boost their numbers tremendously because it's all of a sudden new to them. And they go, "Oh, holy shit. This WWE is something that will make a difference and outdraw a lot of the typical fare that is out there everywhere else." And that's what everybody was doing. Well, hey man, what works in prime time on network? Hey, well, sitcoms work. Well, okay, what if we do a murder mystery show? And this was a proven commodity. WWE was a proven commodity, and going in, it was proven on USA for many, many years. And then take it somewhere else and they go, "Holy shit, you're right." So yeah, it's and it has continued to do so every time.
It's just amazing to see how, where we would think as wrestling fans creatively, it does feel like, hey, we're on the downswing. You're getting shout outs in the Hollywood Reporter twice from two different reporters about two different deals. I mean, all this great PR for the advertising community is a certain feather in the cap for WWE. Hey, it's really cool to see this interaction we're seeing right now on the screen. It's The Rock cutting a promo with Lance Storm. Lance Storm came in to stop all this nonsense and disrespect for Booker T. And I like this pairing. You know, we've seen The Rock do this before with guys like Hurricane, where there's just a fun interaction that maybe you didn't see coming. What do you think about this between Lance Storm and The Rock?
Well, again, it's kind of one of those dichotomies. She had the most electrifying man in the business and then the most boring. And I'm not saying that to disparage Lance Storm. I'm saying from a character perspective, Lance was very dry and he was, came across as boring. And the audience, and that's how this was perceived. Lance delivered his lines very straightforward and very matter, of fact, and very unfun. And everything Rock did was fun and or funny and entertaining. Lance sat there with a straight face. So it was about as black and white as you could get, as far as here's entertaining and here's just straightforward and easy to do. And I think the audience got it very well.
Who liked this? Like creatively, who's the guy who really liked it?
I think the audience liked it.
No, but I mean, was there a proponent behind the scenes that would always go to what if, and it would be these sort of odd pairings like this that you wouldn't expect? Was that a calling card for someone creatively? Not
really. I mean, that's just something that it's a tool. It's a tool that's there, but it's something you can't do it every week.
Right.
But it's a tool there that every once in a while, if you do it, it's done well with the right people. And I think that Lance and Rock were so different that it worked well.
Arco Arena, Sacramento, California is where this episode of Monday Night Raw is going down. When you see
one of the greatest arenas anywhere in the country, because that's where I did my first ever Saturday night's main event with Hulk Hogan, and by God, the Dr. Styles Slickster and the Big Boss Man, it was great, absolutely wonderful. It's so cool because it goes straight up.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you was what's your favorite memory from that building? And you knew immediately. Are you like that about every building or just the stuff that was important to you? Like, are there certain things you'll always remember about certain buildings like that?
Yes. I mean, not all of them. Some of them I can't remember anything about. There are people that can tell you, oh yeah, no, it's got that one curve backstage before you go around to gorilla position, and you've got a little cranny there where somebody could. I'm like, what? And there's others that I can tell you everything about. I can tell you everything about Chicago. I can tell you everything about Arco. I can tell you everything about Houston. There's the Garden, the Boston Garden. There's certain buildings that like the back of your hand that have those unique characteristics that make it special. And Arco Arena was one of those that had that unique characteristic, and that, man, the audience was just right on top of you. And as a performer, it's easy to play to because you're always, no matter what you do, where you are, where you look, how you look, there's people.
What a crazy match we're about to see here. It's Big Show and Scotty 2 Hotty and Billy Gunn and the APA and Spike Dudley taking on the Dudleys, Hugh Morris, Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, and Tommy Dreamer. We're getting a lot of people in a match here, but boy, that just feels kind of thrown together. But it is the Invasion.
Yeah, that it is. It's a lot of people.
Not all these segments are going to be winners.
Yeah, this feels like one of those where who's not working?
Yes.
All right. Well, goddamn. 26 man tag, one of those situations where it's, let's get everybody on the card. And
it's a main event anywhere in the country, by God.
Well, at least, you know what, man? In San Paulo, this would be a main event.
Of course it is.
I'll say that right now.
Hey, this would be the main event in Huntsville.
Well, Von Braun Civic Center, for God's sakes.
Of course. Sold out, hanging from the rafters.
You know what? You know what happened at the Von Braun Civic Center?
A lot.
I healed somebody at the Von Braun
Yes, Civic you Center. Did. Yes, you sure did.
I laid hands upon them and healed them so that they could see and so they could walk. I don't even know if you were born yet.
I was. I didn't live in
Okay.
Huntsville yet, but yeah.
Okay.
I
If
did.
you'd been, I would have healed you.
That would have been awesome. Can you imagine if we could find, I bet through the miracle of AI, we could have that recreated.
Okay.
That would have been hilarious though.
Oh yeah. It was controversial to say the least. Never supposed to make air, but it did.
Wait. Why was it never supposed to make air?
Oh, dude, I did that just to kill time while they were changing tape. So while we were changing a problem in the truck, and we had nothing to put out in front of the building, in front of the live house, so I'll go out. That says you don't have hair one on your ass. You can't go out and heal somebody. And there was a wheelchair folded up right against the gorilla. And it was leaning up against us. I said, find somebody to heal. And we took one of the truck drivers and healed them.
What were their ailments?
They were blind and they had never walked.
But they drove a truck.
Well, we didn't say that.
Right. Because that would have been awesome. Them driving.
Yeah, because then if they could drive a truck, then I mean, how really bad off are they?
They'd have been tag team champions with the Pirate.
They had worn shoes because it was cheaper that way. But yeah, I got color on them too. I put my hand so hard upon their head to heal them that the healing went through and like just split their head wide open. Kid had glasses on. I broke his glasses and split his head wide open.
Wait, are you being serious?
Oh yeah.
His forehead was cut by his glasses.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's great. Well, look, man. Sometimes healing hurts.
Wow.
So this hand right here. You put your hand. Wait, where is it? There. Put your hand on there and feel the love, and you too shall be healed.
Oh yeah. There
Please,
you go.
Cash. No check.
We're watching I guess you could call it a fun multi-man tag match here. And as we're recording, it is a Sunday morning. And I was just reminded that, that guy standing on the outside of the apron there, long black hair clapping. You see, he was on another wrestling show last night.
I did not.
Yeah.
But it's Tom Prichard's birthday today, August 18th.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Brother Tom.
See? Learn all kinds of things here. Now, Big Show, those were just like some nice little close-ons there. And
everybody got one.
Everybody got one. When you look at this, and you just saw Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare.
Oh, close
and I think that, man, Chuck Palumbo had all the tools in the world, man. Looked like $1 million. And if you're in the old days and you saw Chuck Palumbo walk in the door, that's your baby face. That's your guy.
Yes.
And again, he's one of those guys that is just as genuine and as good of a guy as you're going to find. Super duper top notch guy. And I think Chuck was in it I think he liked it. But man, I just don't know his bag. He liked building motorcycles, and talented, could do everything, but just didn't know how to put it in the right spots. So it was it's a shame, man, because I thought he could have been a big star. Same thing with Sean O'Hare. I thought he could have been a big star, but Sean was missing something, missed that connection. And talking about guys that started out as enhancement talent, there's Scotty Too Hottie in doing the worm. First time I'd ever seen a worm, by God. And he was somebody that was an enhancement talent for us for years. And we saw him at a spot show somewhere, and he was on top and he tore the house down. I thought, well, shit. That was what was so great about Pat and I going out and seeing different live events around the area, the smaller shows. You see talent that we would use every night for enhancement, but elsewhere they were top guys, smaller venues. And so, well, let's give them a shot. Scotty Too Hottie was one of those guys.
I don't know why.
Big Show was big then, huh?
He's a big boy.
Well, he's Big Show.
It tickled me when you talked about seeing Scotty 2 Hotty on an independent and you go, well, shit. Oh, by the way, this is Stone Cold Appreciation Night. So here's a Stone Cold tribute from Hurricane Helms in his Green Lantern shirt.
You should appreciate Stone Cold.
Got any good hurricane stories you can share with us? One of the funniest dudes walking around.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. But, he had a Green Hornet ring, and one day Steve Austin says, "Hey, what's that little ring got there, kid?" And he told him it's Green Hornet, and then it went on to help him become, by God, Sugar Shane Helms. What the hell do we call him?
The Hurricane.
The Hurricane. Yeah, that helped him become the Hurricane. There's Chris Jericho walking on stilts. Got his get all sucked in. Chris looked great there, huh?
What is that about? You just like busting his balls today?
No, are you telling me he doesn't look great there?
Yeah, he does look great.
I'm saying he looks great. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you said stilts and sucking his gut in. That didn't sound complimentary.
Well, he was sucking his gut in, for God's sakes. He looks great, though. Jesus Christ.
He does. I
make fun of him for look at bone all bugged up, getting them lats out there and spreading those lats. Just, yeah. Some bitch looks great.
The Kane beefaroni, ravioli, whatever the hell commercials were hilarious, where he tries to put the bite of Chef Boyardee in his mouth and he realizes, oh yeah, the mouth hole's just a slit. Nothing fits in. Hilarious finish.
Yeah.
Any good memories of shooting those? Is that a David Sahadi thing or
I think Sahadi was gone by then, but it was the advertising agency did all those.
I got you.
We approved them all, looked at all the storyboards and everything, but they were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun between Mankind and Kane and everybody.
Hilarious, man.
Yes. Yeah. Look at that young ass Chris Jericho. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Still not yet in the WrestleMania version of himself. Of course, we know by next year's WrestleMania, he's going to be wrestling for the world title. He's about to be in there with Test right now, though. Jericho wrote in his book about, how it took a little while for him to get acclimated to the WWF. He felt like he knew the business, but he had a tough go getting going. Is that the way you remember it from an office perspective?
I think that people looked at Chris as kind of what you just said, that he thought he knew and kind of let everybody know that he knew. I never got that impression from him. I got the impression that he wanted it so damn bad that he wanted to succeed. Chris was hell bent on being a top guy. And in my viewpoint, I think that he had all the attributes to be a top guy. I think he rubbed people the wrong way just by being Chris, but I don't know that none of it was malicious from my point of view. From my point of view, it was a guy that was honestly asking for help and honestly, saying what ifs and trying to throw things out there. But maybe because he hadn't proven himself here yet, the people took offense to that. I never did. I looked at him as someone that had a shitload of talent and a huge upside and thought that, just give him a chance. Just give him a chance. Let him go. And we did. And I think that he proved himself out and did a hell of a job.
We're seeing him tear it up here with Test. By the way, we want to thank everybody for listening tonight and greatly appreciate your support of Something to Wrestle, but got to talk about something serious. I mean, it's been hotter than hell down here, Bruce. What's it been like in New York?
Been pretty warm and steamy, by God.
Well, it's time to be prepared if you're going to be spending any of these last days of August outdoors. And Mando Whole Body Deodorant can be your best friend for the rest of this summer. Mando has been clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours and it's safe for the whole body, your pits, your package, your feet, and everywhere in between. This is a way where you can stop odor before it starts. And yes, it's American made and available in 4 cologne quality scents: Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and Clover Woods. I know my man Cody likes Mount Fuji. I'm a big fan of Pro Sport. I think you're going to find something you're liking, though. You're going to love the way you smell when you're hiking. Mando can be there. Maybe you're going to play some beach volleyball. Mando can help. Maybe you're just going to be going for a jog or walking around, or you're going to be on the boat. You're going to be golfing. You're going to be camping. You're going to be spending time outdoors. Mando can be your best pal. And new customers can get $5 off Mando's best-selling starter pack with the code STW at shopmando.com. One more time, I want to remind you, this is safe to use anywhere on your body. Yes, I'm talking about your grundle, your belly buttons, your butt crack, your stinky crevices, even your feet. This was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how body odor was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Now Mando's whole body deodorant is powerful enough for the toughest odor, but also safe to use everywhere because it's aluminum free, it's baking soda free, it's cruelty free, it's dye free, it's vegan, and it's clinically proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. Mando Starter Pack, perfect for new customers, comes with the solid stick deodorant, the cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and you get free shipping. We've got a discount code to get you hooked on my favorite smelling body deodorant right now. It's new customers getting $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That's like 40% off your starter pack. Use that code STW at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Hey, so we just saw Chris Jericho get turned on, I guess you might call it, by Stephanie. She's siding with the Alliance. And of course, we've got Rhino and Tess there. What do you think about the on-air chemistry? We talked a little bit about the chemistry between Tess and Stephanie. What about Jericho and Stephanie?
Jericho and Stephanie had great chemistry, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was the feeling of disgust between the two of them just was magic. I thought they melded well.
All these years later, we've still got in-program advertising for a JVC boombox here. Let that be a lesson to you young entrepreneurs. If you get an opportunity to be a part of in-program advertising, it might live on forever. See,
especially right here, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
That's right.
That's right, goddamn. Sassafras. If you got any sassafras, you'd like to see if I got myself some sassafras. What is sassafras?
I think it's like I don't know. It's something that grows.
Yeah, it's a drink.
It's not an herb.
It's kind of a drink. Yeah, it's like a sassafras drink, Ricky. Remember some sassafras.
So we've got Christian backstage, and Christian is telling Edge he's going to win the European title tonight. And then we're going to see a little skit that I've always been curious about. It's Sean Stasiak trying several times to cut his Stone Cold tribute, like we just saw from Hurricane earlier. And he keeps stumbling over his words and starting over so many times that the director just gives up on counting the number of takes that it's required to get this done. This effectively...
This is a shoot.
Okay. Tell us about it.
It's okay. Trying to produce Sean was probably one of the most difficult things that any producer or director would ever encounter. You give him a few words, and Sean just was horrible is the nicest thing I could say. And so we just ran tape. It's just keep going. And it got to the point where it's like, I got 2 minutes of shit, but it's all horrible. So we just played it, cut it together and played it. But yeah, Sean was, there was famous way back in the early 80s, man, Bob Backlund coming out of a TV for Victory magazine. and I think Bob took 96 takes.
Oh, wow.
So if anybody took more than 3 or 4 takes, we'd always go Bob Backlund take 96. Then it became, Sean Stasiak take 52. I'm like going, dude, we can't just keep doing this shit over and over and over again. And then I got just so frustrated. Like, you got to be able to do this, man. And so that became the norm. Just became the norm. Nobody wanted to produce them because it was kind of unproducible.
Would you consider airing a skit like that? Or could you understand how a talent might feel like they were being quote unquote buried by that?
Well, it gives them character. If the fact is that that's how they are in real life, well, let's make a character out of that. You can make a character out of that, and that character be endearing to where the people want to help them get through it and see if they can get through it. And then if they ever do, that's a victory moment. And so here's your choice. Let's make a character out of what it is that you do and try to bring that part out of you, or we can't use you. It's a way of communicating.
Can't use you.
Well, if you can't talk, what are you going to do with them? You can't talk. You can't cut promos. You can't do this to be able to communicate with the audience. That was a way of giving them character. If you're boring and you have no real personality, and that's his personality was one that he stuck his foot in his mouth all the time anyway. So enhance that personality.
We just saw a plug for WWF XS, which was going to be a wrestling talk show. Maybe originally it was a call-in show where you're going to have guest superstars and divas. It's originally hosted by Coachman and Trish Stratus. Later, Stratus was replaced by Terry Runnels. What can you tell us about this XS experiment?
Just always looking for new programming and more. It's just more programming. It's more is more, and having more opportunities to have our stars and to interact with the audience. So just whatever we could do.
So you saw the match set up earlier in the night, and now it's going to happen. Lance Storm versus The Rock. Who were big Lance Storm fans on the creative roster? I'm sure somebody felt like this guy's gold.
They did?
No, I'm just saying if you're writing a variety show and you're going to have one of everything, I could see, well, you want a straight man in some of these scenarios. Lance Storm probably checks that box, but then the bell rings, and pretty damn good bell to bell too. I just assumed that he had to have some sort of proponent on the creative
I think
staff.
if you want to have a great match, I think Lance was your guy. But, where Lance struggled a lot of times, again, was the connection with the audience. And, Lance, whenever you would give Lance an opportunity to be a character and an opportunity to do something, outside of the box and a little bit more, for example, the Un-Americans, it was looked at as an opportunity to have an old-fashioned heat-seeking anti-American heel group that the participants were afraid of the heat, didn't want the heat. For an old fart like me, it's man, I love the heat. I wanted the heat. And this was kind of the beginning of people not understanding that it's a work, and not understanding that the character that you play on TV may not necessarily be the person that you are. And if you go out and you get heat, that's a good thing. If you can get people to pay money to see you get beat up, that's a good thing. But I think that, Lance in between, in the ring, I think Lance was excellent. Unfortunately, the audience couldn't connect with who he was. And even being that straight laced, the straight laced, straightforward guy with no emotion, they just couldn't relate to it. So, but I think that his ring work, excellent, absolutely excellent.
Rock's going to give him about 3 minutes and 10 seconds before it's time for the rock bottom. Meltzer would call it basically a squash. And then afterwards, we're going to get Little Booker to run out, and he's going to try to hit the pupil's elbow on Lance Storm, but he's going to trip while trying to hop over him. So Little Booker hits the move in the second attempt, which actually receives a mild pop from the crowd. It's written here. Creatively, though, I mean, this feels like a fun couple of segments. Do you remember anyone, and I'm not saying this is Lance Storm, and I know that one of the words I'm going to say here was part of his shtick, but I'm not trying to be cute about Lance. Do you remember anyone taking themselves too seriously and being offended by things creatively, like a little person coming to hit the people's elbow or what have you?
I mean, Brett didn't like it when Sean did it. I think, I'll go back to the early 90s when we had the minis that had come in from Mexico. We had Mascarita Sangrada.
Yep.
And we had a mini Macho Man, a mini Hulkster, a mini Vader. And at the time they were in masks, total masks, that it was like a Hulk mask and a Macho Man mask. Savage hated it. Hulk hated it. So, there were a few. But then there were guys that hey, Vader hated it. Mankind loved it. Goldust loved it. So really just, depends, man. It's entertaining.
Well, how didn't we ever get a miniature Brother Love?
God, you know what? We had a miniature Paul Bearer, and that's what we always joked. We said we could do him as miniature Brother Love too.
Dude, miniature Brother Love would have been so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Amore. I don't even know how to say I love you in Spanish, but that's what he would have had to do.
Oh, wow. We're about to get some highlights here on the show as we're doing this watch along of Monday Night Raw from August 20th, 2001, the night after SummerSlam 2001. The highlights are going to be of Saturn trying to locate Moppy. When we first talked about in one of our very first episodes together way back when, we talked about the Radicals jumping ship, and that's actually the genesis story of the entire podcast that we're doing now. But you were really high on Perry Saturn and saw star quality, and thought maybe he would be the standout of that group. And now a few years later, man, he's trying all kinds of fun stuff here. Moppy. This is peak Attitude Era, when you're doing things like Moppy. I mean, we're taking a creative leap here. How do you think, what do you remember about Saturn and Moppy?
Well, I thought that it was an opportunity to show Perry's personality and to have fun with something. It was an opportunity, to people could all relate to a time, when you had, for me, it was Timmy Bear, and, whether it was a teddy bear, whether it was just anything that you clung to. And this was Moppy, and it was an innocent Perry Saturn that cared about this mop called Moppy. And you got to see a different side of his personality. When you look at Perry Saturn, you see one thing, and you see a killer in the ring and doing all that. Give him something else to make him a little more human, because I think the audience wasn't really connecting with him but then when you started seeing him care for something, as ridiculous as it is, you got to know him and you got to care for Perry all that much more. And it was fun segments.
Him putting Moppy on a milk carton is hilarious stuff.
Well, that's how you find people. Even mops, Conrad. Milk cartons. They make milk cartons anymore?
Yeah, they do. They, I don't think they open the way they used to. Now they've got a little cap on the side.
That's bullshit.
Next up, we've got Matt Hardy, who's going to have Lita with him, and he's going to pick up a win over Christian to retain the European title. What do you think about this King of the Ring trophy and Christian bringing it down? Like, anytime a wrestler walks to the ring with a trophy, I don't know why, but it tickles me.
Why is it tickling you? It's a trophy. It's no different than a championship belt.
I know that, and I just love it. Like I was telling somebody the other day that Owen coming to the ring holding Slammies is just amazing to me.
See, and to me, it goes all the way back to Killer Carl Cox with the Brass Knucks trophy. Instead of a belt, the Brass Knucks used to be a trophy. And on the trophy, instead of like a wrestler or anything, it had a pair of brass knucks. You put brass knucks and get somebody with it. But I like trophies, man. They're visual. They're different, and you can always stomp on them and break them at the end. It's a different presentation. Like, in Japan, when you would have all these 42 trophies in the ring at the the end of a match or something, and go, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
It looks cool.
When the Funks came in with they brought one of their Japanese trophies back and all this stuff, and we destroyed it. It was Funks and it was Wahoo and maybe Manny Fernandez. I don't know, but it was Wahoo and somebody, and they destroyed the Funks trophy. Paul Bosch was a big trophy guy, and Paul was devastated because it's like that trophy was so beautiful, and Dorian Terry used to bring them home just to destroy them.
Right.
And it was like, yeah, they didn't give a shit about it. Paul's like, oh, you should collect these. They're beautiful and all this stuff. Like, no, they're a prop. Destroy it. Kill it.
I asked Rick about that because there was some magazine way back when where he's on the cover in a Japanese ring with huge trophies.
Beautiful trophies too, man.
They
nice
were.
ones.
And I said, dude, that's so cool. Like, where did you put those? And he said, what? And I said, where'd you put those? And he said, they're in the goddamn hotel, Conrad. I don't know. How am I getting that fucking thing home?
Yeah. Or they just left him. He never saw him again after he left the ring.
No, like, how would I get that home? I can't get that home. Yeah. And it didn't even, how would you? How would you get that home?
Yeah. No, use it for the next tour.
Yeah.
Which is what I always thought, which I thought was funny that the Funks would bring him home and
tear him up.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Because look, man, you only had to bring it twice. Or you bring it into the territory, then make the booker carry it around and just use it till you destroy it.
Dude, I can't help but stop. I just find myself thinking about a miniature Brother Love over and over. I think about Mini-Me and Dr. Evil and how great that would have been. And you could have called him like Little Love. Gonna get you a little love.
It'd be Baby Love.
Yeah. Oh, Baby Love. Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Love and Baby Love.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, me. Ask Silva how we'd say I love you in Spanish.
Well, something me and more or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah. He probably doesn't even know.
No, he'd have to ask his wife.
Yeah.
We're watching Matt Hardy and Christian here.
I forgot I had this on over here.
Lita's on the outside. Our referee is Mr. Corderas. Any good Corderas memories? We never talk about him here on the show.
Yeah, he shook hands too much.
He's what does that mean?
He's a handshaker. He shakes hands too much. Hey, how you doing? Then before he goes out, hey, okay. And then afterwards, is that okay? Thank you. Okay, goodbye. Thank you. Motherfucker shakes hands too much. I like Jimmy. Just shakes hands too much.
Do you realize what you sound like right now?
What?
I don't know, but it's just, he's a fucking handshaker.
Well, he is.
This fucking,
I like Jimmy.
This fucking polite, respectful cocksucker calling me Mr. and Sir and shaking my hand and making eye contact.
It reaches the point, man, where it's just too much. I shook your hand when I got here. Great. Okay. I shake your hand after your match. Great. But then I don't need to shake your hand like 18 more times every fucking time I see you. Next. Too much.
Do you think he knows he's a handshaker, or is he finding 100%. Out? Someone's told him that he's a handshaker. Hey, pal, could you come into Vince's office? Because we want to talk to you. This is the funniest fucking thing you've ever said on the show.
Too much.
I don't know why that tickles me, but there's a meeting about handshaking. It's all over me.
Just, if they don't know, they don't know. You got to tell them.
Okay. I'll try to make it through. We're seeing some highlights from the prior night SummerSlam. Still photos, courtesy of the WWF magazine. Really, they're screen grabs. And we did this because we had Tuesday replays. So if you missed last night, by God, you can catch the whole thing tomorrow night on pay-per-view. What'd you think of Austin and Angle in the singles match at SummerSlam?
I thought all their matches were great.
Yeah.
SummerSlam was absolutely fantastic. They had terrific chemistry, and they went hard. They beat the hell out of each other, and absolutely tremendous. I think that Kurt was the right kind of opponent for Austin. He was different than, say, Rock or Vince or any of those guys. Man, it was more of a wrestling match, but it would also break down into brawling. But I think that Kurt complimented Steve well, and vice versa.
Of course, this was one of our two main events from the prior night at SummerSlam. Kurt Angle's going to win by DQ, so Steve Austin retains his WWF World title. And we know that Booker T would drop the big gold belt to The Rock. Of course, that's the new WCW title that's being introduced into the fold. What did you think of the big gold belt being a part of WWF programming here?
I thought it was right for the WCW element, that was their world championship, and that was a way for us to have two world titles. And there's Booker and his Whoopi Goldberg starter kit.
His what starter kit?
Whoopi Goldberg starter kit.
Oh, when he's got the dreads or whatever.
Yeah. And that son of a bitch has not cut those since then. She think about that. He's been growing that shit for 24 years.
When you see DDP in WWE, first of all, how about the highlights of Michael Cole's hair? Can we just talk about that? I mean, he looks like he's ready to put on a headset and go on tour with Backstreet's Back. All right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a cute little look right there. He was goddamn, he was young.
What about DDP? When you see DDP on WWE TV, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
It's a stalker.
My God.
First thing that comes to my mind, look at him. He's stalkery. Very stalkery. You know how people can be stalkery? Just look at him. Yeah, see right there. Ooh, yeah. Definitely. I love DDP. Look, man, I got a lot of respect for Dallas because, again, like I said in the beginning, he took a chance on himself, bet on himself. It was one of those guys who was willing to do whatever it took and try anything on and, go for it. So, big fan. Didn't think it always worked, but I thought that he at least was in the game.
He's set up to wrestle The Undertaker's wife here tonight.
Ooh, I feel bad for him there.
Paige is going to claim that Sarah suggested they wrestle one another because, quote, she wants to feel her body up against mine. I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm being sincere. Is there anybody who could have made this creative work?
Sure.
I mean, it's just hard for me to. He's going to wrestle The Undertaker's wife. Like, that feels like we're setting the guy up for failure, kind of.
Why is that? So what would you have done?
I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing him have mixed tags before. And in this era, it doesn't feel like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't have just stuck with the Diamond Dallas Page character that we had in WCW rather than make him a stalker.
Because it was something new and it was something different that they hadn't seen before. And our audience, looking at them, they didn't know who Diamond Dallas Page was.
You don't really believe that.
Yes, I do believe that. Again, we did research, we did look at stuff and see who they knew from our audience. They didn't know that. They didn't know those guys. I know you think because you and the hardcore wrestling fans watch both shows. More WWE fans. The larger audience didn't. So when you do surveys and you do research and you look at things and everything, and they go, yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
So when Nitro had the bigger audience, I know they don't by this point, of course, because they're no longer a thing. But I'm just saying when they did have the larger audience, you don't think those fans switched over to Monday Night Raw?
I think some of them did. Yes, absolutely. A lot of them did. But I'm telling you, by this time, when you're looking at it, you'd had what, 3 years of WCW just deteriorating to nothing. They had lost interest in the new fans, man. The audience, they recycle. So I just, again, there wasn't, and wanted to do something new with him. Bring him in and do something different with him. Didn't work. But I don't know that Dallas Page coming in and, his one idea was to work with The Rock. Rock already had something, so we weren't going to change everything to do that.
We saw Booker T walking through the backstage area, and those were people who were local staffers who work in the backstage area helping get the show on the air. They were all snickering and laughing at Booker T. Booker was not happy about that. So he went to see the commissioner, Mr. Regal, who's got Tajiri by his side, and he's complaining, and they're sort of snickering and laughing. And well, this is when Regal breaks the news about The Rock's parody of him. Booker did not understand why everyone was laughing. Now he's understanding there was a little Booker. Before that, we saw a Stone Cold tribute from Taz, who thanked Steve Austin for bringing back the old Taz. And the newsletter at the time said he must have been talking about the whining Taz that disrupted the ECW locker room, because that Taz has definitely been showing his face lately. We just talked a little bit about DDP, and we haven't spent much time talking about Taz. He's another guy who was an absolute top guy for ECW, but maybe never really finds a rhythm here in WWE. Why do you think that was? Why do you think Taz enjoyed more success in the WWE?
Well, I think Taz had a good run in WWE.
Yeah, when you include commentary and all that, for sure. I mean, as an in-ring performer.
I think he had a good run as an in-ring performer. Again, when you're talking about, hey, goddamn, man, he drew those 900 people to that bingo hall.
Wow.
It's different. Well, come on, Conrad. Don't sit there and tell me that he drew 10,000 people every single night. He didn't. Their ratings were not good. They got kicked off the air. They went bank, they didn't last long. Paul Heyman was a genius in how he packaged everything and showed highlights and just showed the positives. But if you're going to sit there and say, oh, well, this guy drew 20,000 people every single night, every arena all over the world. He didn't.
Nobody did.
He was a guy that was a big star in a small pond. He was good. I think he had a damn good run in WWE. And if you want to compare it to, ECW, it was a much better run than what he had in ECW. Unless you're just saying, well, I want to be cheered by those people. Okay, then go back to that. But I think he had a damn good run. And he, it was a guy that came in, he was successful, we did things with, and then he had a hell of a run later on as a commentator. So he was a strong personality that he could talk. He could do things. So I do think Taz had a good run.
We're watching Booker T in dress pants take Tajiri to the woodshed here. Now feels like a good time as any to talk about creating some new habits. Have you heard about this new flavored air category that's quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits, led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. My wife is a big believer in this. Once upon a time, she did some other stuff, but now she's seen the light. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device. You see, flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. And with flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, no vapor, and no combustion. You see, with Fume, you're going to draw flavor to your mouth, and then Fume will fill the void, ditching that bad habit you can leave, and you still have something to reach for. Fume is not a vape. There's no vapor, so you can use it anywhere. There's also no nicotine, so it's not addictive. These are non-toxic flavors, and that makes it a guilt-free alternative. Did I mention there's no batteries, so you never need to charge it? But it looks awesome. You're going to love the weighted, high-quality design, and it's really made to fidget with. It'll calm your anxiety with magnets and snaps and clicks. Fume has continuously invested in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products, and it's backed by the doctors here in the United States. Watch and take a look for yourself. If you haven't already, I want you to go check it out. It's tryfume.com/wrestle. Seeing is believing. You're going to love the crisp mint. I know my wife does. And you're going to notice that it just feels fresher. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be their next success story. For a limited time, just use our code WRESTLE, and you'll get a free gift with your journey pack. Head on over to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com, and use the code WRESTLE. Or if you're watching with us on YouTube, just scan the QR code on screen, and you're going to get a free gift with your order today. One more time, that's tryfum.com, and the promo code is WRESTLE. Bruce, we're watching Booker T here celebrate having put a whooping on Tajiri. Of course, Tajiri won by DQ, but whatever. Domination from a pissed off Booker T. I like this version of Booker.
Oh, I love Booker, man. As you can tell, obviously, I'm a big fan of Booker professionally and personally. But, one thing to point out, I think that if you look at Booker T from the day that he debuted till today, I bet you that some bitch can still wear that exact same pair of pants, probably whatever sport coats he had at the time. And he has always been in top-notch shape. And to me, that's, again, one of those intangibles that you don't always get with mega superstars. That's the reason that he is a mega superstar. Always kept himself in top-notch shape. Oh, to this day, son of a bitch is in top-notch shape. And he's just an incredible athlete, an incredible just credit to the business. And I think that's the reason that he has always been on top and the reason that he's always been a major player.
We saw reports during this era that said once this story with DDP is done, Sarah will not be back on TV. Is that because you guys weren't happy with her presentation? Did you think it humanized The Undertaker too much? Or why was Sarah sort of short-lived here?
It was just a one-off program.
I want to ask you about what, because in this era, this is where Steve Austin really got the whole what chant going. And there's a report in the Torch that says it wasn't created as much as it just happened. And once it did, and it organically hit, the writers started
to kill him.
You hated it, didn't you?
We loved it that night.
Yeah.
Hated it every night after.
Yeah.
But again, that's the power of TV. That was power of Steve. And it was just, it was just something there. But I think it ruins a lot of promos even to this day.
There's a report in the Torch about our buddy Taz, and it says one source reports that Taz was pulled from house show appearances, quote unquote, because his work sucked. Taz continues to frustrate WWF officials by constantly complaining about various issues. He's 50 times worse than Dallas Page. Taz is a miserable, complaining, whiny bitch, one source said. those familiar with Taz from his days in ECW say his attitude is actually worse now than it was back in those days. Do you remember, I mean, we just talked about Taz. You didn't mention any of this. Do you remember any sort of negativity from the office about being frustrated with Taz?
I don't know really from the office, maybe from talent in general.
Yeah, I've never heard this.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, look, man, here's the thing. If you say anything, you're a whiner.
I see.
Okay. You got to think, you got to understand where Wade Keller and Dave Meltzer and these people get their information. Okay. From, I don't know, maybe they do get some from office people. Probably most of it comes from talent that is disgruntled with something. So if Taz is getting any kind of push and Taz says, oh, I don't want to do this, then Taz is a whiner and complainer. And Taz, look, man, I could see, Taz being viewed as that. I just choose to view it differently. I like to look at it in a different perspective, if you will.
Talk to us a little bit about, the creative that we're seeing right now. We've got DDP in the ring with Sarah. Did you think this storyline at any point was snake bit? Or do you think this thing wasn't a huge hit because Dallas wasn't invested in it?
It was snake bit from day one. It just didn't, it wasn't something that, look, it was, I'll take all the credit in the world. I'll take all the blame in the world. Look, it was my idea, and it was something that I threw out as a way to introduce Dallas. I think that the application of it and how we ended up doing it was not how it was initially envisioned. And to that respect, I think that it was snake bitten. It was something that was not done, but the initial idea was a way to get inside the mind of the Undertaker and to create a character that was a little bit more psychotic in Dallas, in that, he wanted to get inside the head of the, biggest guy in the yard, if you will. And it was something that was done. And then it got to be, more, and it got to be, some of the what ifs and different things that didn't necessarily, do anybody any favors. So, it just, it didn't work. Didn't work at all. And I don't think that you could ask anybody involved in it, including myself, and it was my idea. So you want to get mad at somebody and say it sucked? Yeah, that was mine, and I admit it sucked. It just was one of those situations where it kind of, it gets away from you, and your little baby goes out and starts walking, going to school and driving, and it gets away from you. So was what it was, and didn't work. And it's cut short. Next, We
just saw a backstage skit here where the Alliance is headed to the ring. Miss Deborah and Stephanie are leading everybody down to the ring to start Austin Appreciation Night. They've got a big tray of cookies. Here comes Paul Heyman and a lot of the other members of the Alliance. It's easy from the outside, Bruce, to see how, Lance Storm got ate up and Booker T has a little Booker T running around, and DDP just got beat by the Undertaker's wife. You could see why there was a lot of outside criticism from the outside looking in about the way WCW was being presented as these buffoons.
Yeah. Did they like the way it was being presented in WCW at the end?
I guess what I'm saying, Bruce, is, was there never any interest to make the invasion look competitive, or was it always supposed to just be lopsided?
No, there definitely was. But I think that the idea of the invasion was you kind of looked at the talent that you were getting and thinking that it was better than it was. When you take them out of their 18-foot ring, put them in a 20-foot ring, when you take them out of just working with their talent, their people into working with another level of talent, yeah, it was all different. And you didn't get what you I think that it's like when you look at a menu and you go, oh my God, that looks so good with the pictures and everything. And then you get it, it doesn't look the same, doesn't taste the same like what you think it's going to taste like. That's what we got. And again, if you're going to tell me that the WCW audience thought they had something really great, then why were they in the toilet and selling? So we were trying to work with what we had. We were trying to embellish it as best that we could. And
I got it. The talent was all shit.
Realized it needed a lot more. And a lot of these guys needed to go back to school, or some just go to school in general, to bring them up to the same stature.
Well, I'm glad you got Booker T in school.
Nope, I said Booker T didn't need to go to school. Booker T came in and was ready to go. Like I said, I'm glad we got Booker T.
We should mention in this era, The Rock's wife, Danny Garcia Johnson, she's going to give birth to the couple's first child. 7-pound, 10-ounce girl. Whatever happened to that girl?
Pebbles. Michael could never remember her name, so he just called her Pebbles. All right. Pebbles.
How wild is it that makes the news reports back here all this time ago, and now she's a part of NXT? What a small world.
It's crazy, man.
It is.
Circle of life.
We would see the investor call happen in this era with Linda, and she's saying at this point the plans are still to launch WCW as a separate entity sometime next year. At this point, did you realize, hey, yeah, we're never doing that? Or did you think there's still a chance, perhaps?
Oh, God, I think everybody had rose-colored glasses on, thinking that we would be able to, we just need to kind of regroup and reorganize it and go with a fresh start. And I think that those of us that were in it on a day-to-day were going, I don't think this is going to work, folks. Let's just move on.
It's interesting, at this point we thought it was going to be the WWF and WCW. In reality, what we got was Raw and SmackDown. This is around the same time that we would see the WWE have some problems with DirecTV too, to the point where they're saying, hey, you won't be able to find WWE pay-per-views on DirecTV anymore. They're even having JR write about it on his blog. And I'm sure all this is calculated to try to get them back to the table. Was this issue with DirecTV, was it all about splits, or was there more to it than that?
Yeah, a lot of it was all about splits. It's interesting in that with DirecTV, one of the things that we did, that was when DirecTV started, and DirecTV had their pay-per-view channels, and you could pretty much get any, every half hour or every hour, the movie that you wanted to see, you had to pay for it, was available. Okay, it wasn't on demand yet, but it was available in all those times. And that's when we started with the encores, and we started putting our pay-per-views on there to where, hey man, every 3 hours, you can watch it again, or you can watch it every hour on multiple channels, and created probably 30% more revenue for DirecTV than what had previously been done the way that traditional pay-per-view had been done. They get one shot at it, in a replay. So, to us was kind of like, really? We're doing more for you than a lot of your, and it's not costing you anymore than a lot of your major movies and shit like that. Because we were fresh, we were live, we were sport. And so that was the difference. And I think it was a bit of greediness on DirecTV's point of view. And it was something that we weren't willing to give up.
It was written in the torch as we're seeing Shane Helms come in and say, the Green Hornet was my hero until I met you. And Canyon, who's famous for saying, who better than Canyon? He's in the ring here to make sure Steve knows you're better than Canyon, which is pretty funny. The Torchwood writes, sources say Vince McMahon wrote the final segment of this week's Raw, including the Austin tribute and Angle's milk attack. Sources also say McMahon has been more involved in the main event storylines than at any time in recent months, spending a lot of one-on-one time with both Austin and Rock backstage. Was it easier to get something approved and through and on the air if Vince was involved in this era, or tougher, more challenging?
No, it was all the same.
Okay.
It was all the same. Vince wasn't any more involved in this than he was involved in everything else up to and after this. So there was no more, he's doing more now. If you want to compare it to during the XFL time.
That's this time, isn't it?
Perceived that, but it just wasn't the case. If anything, Vince was more involved then because he was going to show that, by God, he could do both.
Of course, we know the XFL was February through April earlier in this same year. And it's crazy to think that, as he's purchasing WCW and doing that Nitro simulcast, we're just days away from WrestleMania 17. We're just days away from Stone Cold Steve Austin turning heel. And we're smack dab in the middle of the first XFL. Like, there is a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, it was a little busy, man. Not a lot of sleep during that time.
Deborah is going to be presenting Stone Cold with a tray of her famous cookies. And Paul Heyman is going to spare Austin from having to eat these cookies by introducing a video tribute to him. And after the video airs on the Titantron, Stephanie is going to ask the remaining Alliance members to join them in the ring. And she's going to announce that the group has written a song about Austin called Wind Beneath Our Ring, to the tune of Bette Midler's Wind Beneath My Wings.
Wait, who? Bette Midler covered this?
Steph is going to invite Lillian Garcia into the ring to sing the song. And Steph is going to instruct Lillian to read the lyrics as they appear on the Titantron. Of course, there's a bouncing image of Austin's head appearing over the lyrics. That is a hilarious touch. Do you remember who came up with that idea? Because I laughed out loud when I saw it, and it makes me laugh just thinking about it now.
God, I have no idea.
So,
that's one of those, you just do it. It just seems natural.
My God.
How else would you keep people following along other than that beautiful bald head?
Steph is going to pass the mic around to various Alliance members. Everybody's going to take turns singing the song, and Steve Austin standing in front of the group and smiling as they're all singing his honor. And once the song is over, he's going to take the mic and thank the Alliance. And he's going to point out that they're all wearing his shirt except for Taz. And Austin starts to chew out Taz and demands that he take off his shirt. And Kurt Angle's music interrupts him. Here comes the milk truck. Talk to me about the whole milk truck angle and how this comes to be. I mean, we've seen Steve Austin in years past do the beer bath. Is this just a natural progression? Hey, what if? And now, what do you know? We got a damn milk truck.
Absolutely. You fight beer with milk.
Okay.
Everybody knows this.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah, but see, now you do. We're educational.
I'm learning. Yeah.
Yeah. You fight beer with milk. And it was one of Steve's most famous moments, the beer truck with, Rock and Vince and Shane and everybody in the ring and swimming in the beer. And of course, Kurt, being an Olympic athlete, would never have alcohol touch his lips. And instead, he brings out that beautiful milk truck. And we, like I said, we fight beer with milk. That was, perfect way to do it and perfect way to end the show. It astonishes me the the audiences during that time that were thrilled to be covered in powdered milk, and or beer, with the beer truck. It just it's absolutely crazy, but they loved it because they were a part of the show and they got to be, have something to take home. And look, man, my clothes smell like sour milk.
Is this one of those Gallagher moments, do you think?
Well, Gallagher, at least, and we did too. We had folks that had the
ponchos.
The ponchos, but it was the plastic all up over them and everything. But still, it's like, yeah, that's the moment. You want to be Gallagherized, I guess. But in this case, you want to be milked. Not like milked, but milked.
Alex Krog wants to know, who and how does all that get cleaned up?
Well, by God, that's what janitors are for. And folks in the building, they were there to clean it up. But you get all your crew out there and get to cleaning. But it is a mess and a half.
Mr. Gonzalez wants to know, where'd you get the milk from?
Milk's our us. Well, milk be us. It was all American milk be us and shit.
Craig Marshall wants to know, how bad was the smell?
Not that bad, because it was fresh and it was more water than anything. So, but it was still, man, it just, the little bit of milky, whatever that powder is to make it milk. Yeah. Not good. Stinky. It's sour to me.
Did you ever think when you were first getting into the wrestling business that there might be a circumstance in which in the future you would be trying to locate a local milk truck for a wrestling angle?
When I was 4 years old in El Paso, Texas, I dreamed one day of having El Santo milk. Okay? And being able to have a truck of El Santo milk with a big hose on it that I could spray down Dory Funk Jr. with. Because see, in El Paso and in Juarez, they had Santo milk. Because El Santo was of the purest of pure, and his milk was the very best milk you could possibly find. Which now, okay, when you talk about dairy, you got to talk about, by God, Bluebell ice cream. Because it comes from that little creamery in Brenham, but the cows think it's heaven.
When you see a scene like this to close a Monday Nitro, the crowd's going bananas.
A Monday Night Raw, not a Nitro.
Sorry.
Just didn't close Nitro.
You know what I mean. Is this, in your mind, this is one of those scenes that takes a guy from being a star to a superstar? Like, these sort of scenes become something that become iconic and get played for the rest of his career. I mean, this is one of those moments, is it not?
Absolutely. And again, Kurt Angle was the kind of guy that could take this, and you could either take this and do it half-assed, or you could take it and do it as all in as Kurt Angle did, and pouring the milk all over himself and drinking everything and having fun with this thing and being, that guy. So yes, this is a moment in your career that, as it did happen, was played at his Hall of Fame, and was, Kurt bringing out the milk at the Hall of Fame and drinking it all over his tuxedo, man. That's a moment, and it's a moment that will never be forgotten.
Well, the moment we won't forget is one we're going to cover next week here on the program. I can't believe this is real, but somehow we've never covered SummerSlam 1994. So we will next week. We talk about the 30th anniversary. Now, we've talked around this show, but a deep dive on SummerSlam from 30 years ago. Here we go. It's The Undertaker versus The Underfaker. Brett and Owen in a big blue steel cage match. The return of Davey Boy Smith. Diesel and Razor for the Intercontinental title with Shawn Michaels and Walter Payton involved. Tatanka and Lex Luger. And it's the first big event from the United Center in Chicago. If you've got a question for Bruce, get it in right now on our YouTube channel. That's somethingtowrestle.com. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell. You don't want to miss the next time we're live. That's somethingtowrestle.com. It's also easy to interact with the shows. It's at Prichard Show on Twitter and Instagram. It's Something to Wrestle on Facebook. I am at Hey It's Conrad on Twitter, and at Hey It's Conrad Thompson on Instagram. If you'd like to see Bruce's accounts, I say see them because they're not very active. It's at Bruce Prichard on Twitter, at the Bruce Prichard on Instagram. Bruce, I had a blast today talking about Monday Night Raw from 2001, but I am looking forward to talking about 94 next week. That's going to be a good time.
And Leslie Nielsen.
Come on.
Looking for that other Undertaker.
I love it.
Could there be two?
All this and more we'll find out next week right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Sometimes Jimmy Jam came along. Those were the best days. Now they're gone. It's been 10 years since you ain't been around. Lord, I miss my best friend now.
Hey, wait, hang on before you go, Bruce. What is the right number of handshakes?
Hello, goodbye.
2.
In a day?
Okay.
Yeah, unless you're working a great match.
And then it's 3.
Yeah.
Got it. But if you're
for a referee, 2.
Don't be a handshake.
Okay, wait a minute. Hang on. So you meet with your loan officers and all that shit and everything. How many times do you shake hands with them in a day?
Maybe not even 2. Maybe once.
Okay. So what if they came in, you shook hands with them when you got there that day? Okay. And then they come into your office for a meeting. They come into your office for the meeting and go, oh, hey, Conrad, again. And then you have that meeting. And then they shake your hand again. And then they leave. And then you see them as you're going down. You got your butt wipes and everything. You're going down to do some business. And they see you in the hallway and they shake your hand again. And then later on that day, they come in for another meeting. They shake your hand again. Then they shake your hand after the meeting. Then they shake your hand when they go by. That's too much. Just saying, it's too much.
So what you're saying is that dude was a fucking handshaker.
He was a handshaker. Great guy, but he's a handshaking son of a gun.
So long, everybody. Be careful.
Rock on.
Don't shake too many hands.
Yeah, rock on. And remember, Jimmy Jam came along.
Those were the best times.